Welcome, Legalizers. This is Cannabis Legalization News. My name's Tom. You can see me at cannabisindustrylawyer.com. We have a big week of cannabis legalization. Lots of federal bills were introduced, and federal court is our lead story. It was over 300 pages. The other lead story is Senator Ron Wyden's bill, over 80 pages. Most hemp bills have been shell bills, like 5 pages, but the CRSA does. And the large report was commissioned by CDC and other federal health authorities. Big, we're diving into that several times throughout the hour. We have state news and federal news. If this is your first time on Cannabis Legalization News and you believe in legalizing marijuana, give us a like, subscribe. Now, let's get into our first story of the week.
Hey, thanks for joining us and bringing us into your gardens and homes.
Your dispensaries. If you're managing a dispensary and you have Cannabis Legalization News up, we always like to hear from you. Drop it in the live feed after 420. We'll tell you about the science experiment we started last week. First, Senator Ron Wyden introduced the Cannabinoid Safety and Regulation Act. I have a deep dive coming next week. Now let's cover some high level points.
Will this matter after rescheduling? Like all these bills, safe banking, any of this,
The Captain Cuckoo Bananas thing about this is it defines cannabis in a way that marijuana is not included. It only defines cannabis as hemp or cannabinoid derived products. Can't we legalize natural weed first? Why give people Diet Coke when the real thing is the Coca-Cola? You legalize synthetic weed first. You took weed you couldn't sell because it has CBD. Did chemistry to create derivatives. They define that term as semi-synthetic. Why are we legalizing those first?
that's a great point. You've been saying this with the Farm Act, marijuana. The problem is THC percentage. It's the same plant, right?
The reason they did the THC percentages was because that's what gets you high. It was a lack of understanding about the plant. They could have said, "Is hemp." They could still say that.
Cannabis policy is based on fear and ignorance. The hemp bill defining hemp and cannabis, focusing on THC is the intoxicating part. There's ignorance about what high THC, alcohol have components like THC, psychoactive, shouldn't lives. Farmers, this 0.3% arbitrary limit
Ban vitamin C, hack it to give you vitamin C on steroids. But that's what we're doing with the marijuana plant. Like the worst thing is somebody's like, what about the small business? It's just for the rich people and monopolists. You get pushback from hemp operators about the rich people and monopolists. If you read the CSRA, the Cannabis Safety and Regulation Act, it's impossible to comply without being rich. Like they didn't cover the dispensing side. They left that more abstract, but if you were making it, they made it obvious that it's going to be expensive. So much so that all the mom and pops, all the small businesses, gone.
That's what people bring argument about big weed or rich people fear mongering about business and the little guy getting hurt. I hate to say it, but big weed's already been here. It takes deep pockets to get involved in this game. It might be more feasible if I already do it like a restaurant, right? I'm still gonna have to go through permits and other ways to get there. There's a path to open a restaurant. There is no real path to be involved in cannabis, hemp, marijuana. When the hemp farm bill happened, people with money were like, let's do a farm and see if we don't get raided. The scary part of this industry, whether legal, illicit, recreational, what do the police do? If I test hot on a product, do I have to destroy a year's worth of work? These are the things people worry about and still do. But rescheduling can help.
They could have processed. Some people think this bill to regulate hemp will allow for Delta 8. Nope. It says semi-synthetics may be allowed if safe. The FDA has said they're not safe and has sent letters saying stop selling these and putting them into our food supply. Why would they suddenly change because of a new law? They're safe. No, they aren't. I'd support this bill if they added natural weed. It calls for regulation except for retail location, security, inventory control, ensuring the person is over 21. They called for online sales. Go try to buy cigarettes online. Let me know how that goes. I don't think online sales work. It doesn't legalize weed. It defines cannabis in a way that leaves marijuana in the lurch, which should piss off anyone trying to legalize this plant for the past 30, 50, 85 years. Not legalize it. You're going to legalize everything except why people used it and then give them inferior products through science.
Exactly, dude. Nail on the head. Right. The hemp bill enabled version of something that could be organic and good. It enabled workarounds with spray turps. People have been manipulating to get more bang for the buck forever. But when it comes to a natural plant garden, taking time, water,
It's got parents. It's a natural plant. A lot of flower is harvested. Is hemp. The point of hemp was rope, not dope. You should be building us shirts, cars, food, materials. You're not supposed to be getting us high. 95% of the hemp industry is getting people high.
the problem isn't that high with manipulation. An actual plant is something manipulated post facto, maybe after extraction from chemicals. Here's the deal. People smoke cigarettes originally from tobacco, like a little meth factory in sticks. Smoke your meth factory if you want. But give the holistic person something good, organic, and that's where prices vary, right? One farmer about that 0.3%, while others let the plant flourish. It could be a t-shirt or petroleum, but for the best quality grower, you need a market where it can thrive.
Legalize a loophole before the real plant. The CSRA is not legalizing marijuana. Hemp in Missouri, California, and soon in state, and hopefully in my city, banning high hemp, people that are get inhalation or as an edible regulated, and it's avoiding rules. You can still do those bans according to the CSRA. It does feed regulation to the federal government, but doesn't create an interstate commerce system. It creates a system where you can't stop it from interstate commerce, but you can ban it in your region. State, city, if the truck is going from Iowa to Indiana, passed through Illinois, we have a ban. We'd be able to stop it. You're not allowed to sell it from taking it to Indiana where they don't know. Go ahead, sir. We will escort you to the border. Similar. And so it's like a states' rights thing, which I don't like. I want nationwide legal weed. Marijuana legalization is an issue for the states, but electing Democrats will boost cannabis reform. So it's states' rights, but vote for us, help cannabis reform. I don't know if I believe that. If you wanted to hack a lottery in 2024, Minnesota was the easiest one. They left the barn door open. I could have been on every application if I were enough. Been compliant. In Illinois, one and done. In Missouri, one and done. In Minnesota, as long as you own less than 10%, you don't count.
Well, and again, back to marijuana's here. You need money to get involved in this.
Oh, shit. We need money.
I believe the Democrat Party, like I've been trying to hack legalization for all my life. The way to do it right now is blue because they have leadership, right? The CHIPS Act. Hey, it's about that time.
Is it 20 past the hour? It's 20 past the hour. Join us after this short commercial break from Collateral Base. Not accepting new clients.
The funds in Collateral Base. We're getting closer to our store.
Put in an offer, call it an LOI, or negotiate that, signed a deal with an architect because unlike a hemp shop, it is something that you have to get approved at the local level for a special use permit. You don't need that in a tobacco shop. Also, you need to provide that to state regulators to be regulatorily compliant with security and other rules on your floor plan before you can start building. Hopefully in the next month, I got a letter to City Hall across the street saying like, hey, we'd love to be the only dispensary with local ownership in your jurisdiction. There's not 4 dispensaries. There's closer to 20. The smoke shops are selling THCA flower. THCA vapes. I still don't understand. THCA vapes. I don't understand. It goes over the line when you're processing it's marijuana. Criminal law. If something's illegal in the chain, it doesn't become legal after you laundered it. If it goes fine, is that marijuana? When you process it back, it goes back hemp. The hemp definition has to change because it's vague and unreasonable An ordinary person can't make it. What's the point? The point was to make cannabis that doesn't get you high. Does it get you high? Oh yeah, it gets you real high. How do you do that? You have to take it and concentrate it, and then it goes over the delta 9 line. It goes over the delta 9 line while you're processing it. Yes, but that doesn't count. So you take all this marijuana, make products, and it goes back to being hemp. That's right. Is that for you to say? The USDA says what corn is. The FDA says what the product is, like corn syrup or bourbon. Which one is this stuff you want to ingest or inhale? Where is that? No regulations on that.
I think intent of the law, which is fine, but there's what we have. The Farm Bill freaking happened. People doing how these people are being successful. This is Tom's biggest fear for us as store owners in a soon-to-be place one day. This whole process is painful, not overnight, not without its own hardships. Thanks for joining us. Illinois has a prosperous vape market where I think Tom isn't probably maybe with the reason you got the guy who grew, then the hemp B2B market where people are like, hey, I'm going to be a processor. None of these fuckers are doing license processing. There's no license for being a hemp processor. I can do one tomorrow as long as I have 100 grand.
There's no federal law for hemp processing. Illinois did have a hemp processor's license. Starting to walk those back. We're telling them the FDA issued warning letters saying it's unsafe and it's not okay to put in the food supply. THC flower, CBD sprayed with terps. No regulations on that market at all. THCO sprayed CBD flower. It's arguably fine federally, not necessarily legal at the state level, creating this confusion. Reasonable people completely disagree about what it means and how to enforce it. That's the current definition of hemp. It's shit. It needs to change because it's not just a USDA definition. It's not corn. It's a USDA and an FDA definition smushed together. All those extracts and derivatives, you're getting an FDA language now. And you should let the FDA make that language or create a different law. The problem with it is it defines cannabis under federal law, and it makes sure that does not include marijuana, which I find offensive.
Does the FDA cover tobacco vapes?
Yes.
It's an extraction from a plant with the different components. Rescheduling is going to be the can of worms, reinforcing accessibility, probably banking. If you have a dream, like everybody who smokes a little weed when they're 18, they're like, oh man, I'm going to buy a pound, split it up, got 20 friends. Now you're talking about being a store. Behind that 1 pound, we that many people. If you work at retail, you get it. 100,000 people are not your friend. And that's the traffic you need to be a sustaining business. These are the things most people don't talk about, the sustaining part. Unfortunately, you have people who buy Twitter at 44 billion. And now it's worth half that. A real financial business person can understand we're going to open the store slowly. Like none of this is, we're talking to people. I don't have 1.5 million just lying around.
It doesn't cost 1.5 million. It's a full budget. I think you could become $600,000 renovation. You're not allowed to do business renovations. You have a license. The regulator's the boss. You must do this. He doesn't have to follow the rules. He doesn't have to pay the taxes. Why did you legalize this? Are you so masochistic? Illinois General Assembly. Are you so masochistic that you would say, let's make cannabis legal for social equity, but if you just want to get people high, make sure you call it hemp?
States are stepping up. California, we're down on hemp bills. The problem is the rescheduling will create uniformity. People are looking at regulation, not just to sell, but permits, cleanliness, and other necessary aspects. Food processors, for example, need to meet kitchen requirements. If there are things in cooking specs, I can't talk about marijuana. But a new government commission report says feds have been noticeably missing from shaping legalization to protect health.
This is the big thing that came out over the course of the week. The Ron Wyden thing, I get a pass. But this was what people are thinking. And by people, and they had all their federal agencies together. This is the National Academies for Science, Engineering, and Medicine. And it was from studies commissioned or financed of CDC. It's a 341-page document. The first 20 pages are credits. Right. Just like a movie. It was hilarious. And they had great content. And the number one thing they really blamed was the Farm Bill.
Well, we got Farmer Tom in the chat who had an actual study, OSHA or NABOSH. What else? He'll correct me. They were doing studies on using trimmers, motion bodies, expands reputability type stuff. They're actually packed regulatory government and infrastructure. But now rescheduling could be the path of NIOSH. What do you think, Tom?
I always like the original source. Share the original source. Good conclusion 2.1.
You shared it earlier. Did you buy it?
No, you sign up for their email list. The first 20 pages of credits. Go to recommendation or conclusion 2.1.
Oh, should do it. 2-1.
He wants you to, we got to get better tech down there and internets, because then we got to do this like for
Recommendation 2-1. Congress should refine the definition of hemp to state clearly that no form of tetrahydrocannabinol or semi-synthetic cannabinoid derived from hemp is exempt from the Controlled Substance Act.
Right. Exactly. Please legalize natural marijuana first. Why are you doing this? America, you didn't legalize anything. Fix laws. You have a definition of hemp that doesn't make sense. You've welcomed people into risking federal or state prosecution. People buy the THCA joint, smoke it at the bus station, and get arrested for marijuana possession. You haven't fixed the marijuana laws. You went around them. You said, this is something different. What does it do? Get you high. There's still hemp raids, still hemp
disruption. But once the rescheduling happens, that'd be a fair market.
But because it's like 38 out of 50 states or 36. I think there's 14 non-trigger laws or hybrid trigger law states. I've done a video on this. The states, like half are immediate trigger law states. So when it becomes a Schedule 3 substance, half the states will be Schedule 3. Medical marijuana will exist in a form that it may not exist according to their laws. So then there's another half, not quite 2/3. So 15, 16 more states have modified triggers, minimal governmental interaction before federal law gets in compliance through operations of law. Then there's bullshit states. One might be one of our next. Let's see here. Illinois. Nope, not that one. Driving study state. We'll go to the driving study state and talk about the bullshit non-trigger law states later. Let's go to my state, though. Illinois vehicle smell of burnt cannabis in Illinois, after 4 years of legal, is no longer probable cause to search your vehicle. They smell weed in your car. That is not sufficient probable cause to search your car anymore in Illinois. If they smell burnt cannabis, they may try sobriety tests to determine the smell of burnt cannabis constitutes probable cause. They will look at the totality of the circumstances of the fact pattern, and they will have a probable cause or not.
Right. Just protections, right? Like when you say trigger laws, and I know you intend for business, but I think of trigger justice, right? Things need to happen of rescheduling. This will take away the law enforcement's drive to go after you, review you a certain way. Here in Seattle, one reason I moved out was because the prosecutor said they weren't going to go after cannabis cases only. If you were in a shootout and there was a whole bunch of weed involved, that might be part of it, but he never went after someone just smoking in the park. The cops weren't ticketing people because no one was taking the risk. It's about how society views it. Now it's great. The Supreme Court is doing fairness. If this was a case, I would have never gotten put in the back of the car in Wyoming when I got that ticket. No, he saw shake in his console. And they could have searched it, smelled the weed and saw shake. That's why I said, crotch the joint or swallow the joint. Be careful with glass or vapes. You need something you can make not be there because it would be the totality of the circumstances. So let's say you were driving 20 miles under the speed limit and he pulls you over. He smells a bunch of weed. And then you see the center console with the cannabis bag there. According to those three circumstances, you probably have probable cause or you've seen weed, which is a crime. Weed is legal to certain extent in Illinois. You to have it sealed like alcohol. You can't have open, they see a beer can, that's evidence. If they see the bag of weed, it's evidence. If you smoke a joint and throw it into your bottle of water, they just smell weed. I think in Washington State too, that's the level of fear I've had where put it out in the dash And if I got pulled over, I wouldn't fear as much. I feel like I have more protections here. Meanwhile, this is the hemp versus cannabis fight.
No, this is the California ban right here. The FDA has repeatedly said no to any cannabinoid in food. And they made gummies, great gummies, by the way. They're just illegal. Doesn't mean you can't buy them. And they also have seltzers. Both of those have Delta 9 THC in them. And then with the percent by dry waste basis, both of them do. The thing is, the FDA has repeatedly said there's no safe legal foods that contain cannabinoids like this. There's none. These are illegal. Please cease and desist. But it's the FDA. It's not the DEA. You're not scared of it. It's not, oh my God, the SEC could not have lied to all those shareholders. Damn it. You don't care when the FDA is the regulator.
I don't think they'll, yeah, I mean, like, but with the FDA on this whole hemp side of things, dude, like, because I know it's like with supplements, right? Like vitamins and supplements, like they're trying to throw everything in that category as well.
You can't. There's rules for it. It's like 1994 law about these herbal supplements. And so if it was an herbal supplement and qualified for it, it had to have been in existence into the food supply before 1994. And then it's not like the kratom is like, they're doing kratom might get smashed here soon too, because it's not just the natural leaf, which you would be like, oh no, that's, guku berries from the Middle East or something. I made that up, but it's this thing that existed prior in its natural form. As you have that in its natural form, that's one thing. But then when you start extracting and processing it and turning it more and more into a drug, because you're synthesizing for specific chemicals, that's when the FDA gets even more concerned and might write those polite reform letters saying this chemical, Delta 8 THC, for example, is not safe. We do not give it safe status. Don't put it in foods.
I don't like when they do that because now you're putting it in a harm status, right? Like you're giving it a status. Isn't like kind of the act of doing something, not doing something, or not doing something, doing something type thing, right?
No, this is federal law. And so it's all written down. Regulators are the most literal people that you've ever met. And so when they say something, they literally mean it. It's not like Donald Trump talk.
No, what I'm saying is like, if you say this thing, these cannabinoids are harmful, whatever reason, they're harmful. Well, now, how are they harmful? Show me on the doll where this plant hurt you and touched you. Like, who died? Like, just, you can't tell me this shit's bad for me without saying like, look, I mean, cigarettes, right? Like, I have to see the fucking commercial no more with the lady with the little voice box going, don't, like I get it. That shit fucking does shit. But also people will do it and take the risk no matter what. Because it's like satisfying at the moment. It's a building up to the bad stuff. America, I can do what the fuck I want. But like, that's right. Show me an example. Don't just tell me. You're not the daddy.
Oh no, they aren't your daddy. They're your regulator. And they're in charge because you're playing by their rules, which is the law, by the way. And they're law enforcement. And so you're dealing with a form of law enforcement. It's just not the form of law enforcement you care to really give two shits about. And I don't think that their lawsuit's going to win, That's the thing. Like if they like, okay, well, what federal basis? Oh, it's this under the hemp law. Okay. And then you took it and you put it into a food. Where's the basis under federal law that says you can do that? There ain't one.
There is no infusion type. There's none. I mean, like, so now we're going to regulate cooking. I'm just saying
that they do actually regulate cooking. And so like, there's like hazard. I mean, like I'm not kidding. And so that was in the cannabis, the CSRA as well. They had like mortal danger. It wasn't the name of it. I mean, don't hold me to the actual technically precise names of the terms of art that they've defined in there, but foliage or something like that, because they're making these foodstuffs. And so they want to make sure they're particularly self-stable and they're also very, very safe and they're not going to cause any like material serious illness or something like that. But that happens all the time. So if we had a license to grow and process, there are things you can process it into, but that's it. You can't like say like, I'm going to use my infusion license and a bakery and like make stuff and like a restaurant and make stuff. You can't. It has to all be very specific and then sold by a dispensary.
Right. But
So
that
it's the consumer packaged good.
but that market still exists though. It's like, um,
Well, just because the market exists doesn't mean that it's the laws regulating that market or recognizing it exists.
well, is that
There's a
because
market for there's an illegitimate market for banging called prostitution or other illegitimate markets. Most of the gambling has gone away now because gambling has become so legal. You can go anywhere and gamble basically now, provided that that machine that you're punching buttons and feeding dollars is tied to a license.
yeah, and a lot of that pertains to local structure enforcement type stuff. And if there is a federal period for these people to achieve it, but overall, still a plant. And want to take a look at the plant that we're talking about?
This is what we're fighting for. We will never do a name that strain for a THCA plant.
Yeah.
That's right. That is not hemp flower. Or if it technically is hemp flower, it's not trying to be.
Whoa, mama. That's what I'm trying for.
No, I don't.
So it's a hybrid wheat strain. Well, it's part of the name. That was what I was trying to go with. This wheat strain name made from a genetic cross between Chem's sister and sour apple. 40% sativa, 60% hybrid, 60% indica.
Herbie's Seeds. Shout out to Herbie's Seeds. Hopefully they're doing well. That's what I still think, though. I don't care how they redefine hemp. Seeds are always hemp, in my opinion, because of how crime works.
Oh,
Tell
they
you how
keep
crime
feeding
works.
well, speaking of seeds, in the Slack, their seeds are going to be sold in New York, like at a dispensary somewhere.
Oh, we could sell this. We could sell seeds at our dispensary. The problem is we might not be able to buy any. We can sell them. We're allowed to sell seeds at our dispensary, but none of the producers sell seeds. So that's why there's a seed market.
Yeah,
That's really close. I mean, like he's got to like, oh, he's fixed it. Christopher Brady getting it. Apple Betty is having a small autocorrect problem. Yeah, that's right. This one's a little spendy. 10 to 15 a gram. It does sound tasty. I don't know about these 33% THC levels. Whenever I see something like that, I'm like, check it again. And they're like, no, we already checked it again. It came in at 22. We were happy with this 33. And so like, we have to get real testing and real standardization and be honest about the plant.
Yeah.
The THCA flower is like the most dishonest thing about the plant I've ever heard.
Well, and they call shenanigans on price, right? Like the people like, oh, this strain is going to be $15 a gram or whatever, but it comes down to the grill, the quality, how it's fucking raised. But, okay.
Yep. It's but like the 10 to 15 per gram, that all comes like Michigan shows you how you can have plenty of supply. And so like you need to have enough licenses to get enough supply to get the price down. But I'm talking about natural wheat. I'm not talking about like Pepsi, Cola, diet soda, like semi-synthetic wheat. I don't want that stuff sold. I want people to have the real thing.
I want something that the farmer, it comes down to the grower, farmer, whatever you want to call them. The quality, that's where you get quality from, right? Someone's knowledge on how to take care and manicure this plant. I can smoke good weed, but I fucking can't make it. I'm just telling you. So I think that's where the quality of the plant will be in the price. And then you'll find the bottom line. Like you said, though, competitive market, dude, once we start or making movements forward with the store, I want to start eating these all, but I'm so sad. It's only like 36 growers, dude, or whatever, 42 farms. So
We can start calling them now, man. I can
yeah,
get to this. Like, I can give you a list. You're like, hey, and then yeah, I was reading a book about consumer packaged goods today. Like, that's what I do when I'm mowing the lawn. I have a book read to me. Thanks for this. Consumer packaged goods. Slotting agreements. Now, slotting agreements sounds like it might either be porn or gambling, because you have slot machines and other slots. But at the same time, it's like slot agreements, because a retail location like a Kroger, do you have Kroger in Washington? It's like, all right, Piggly Wiggly in the South, Albertson. Don't forget Publix if you're joining us from Florida. Hit the thumbs up for Publix. But those types of things would have slotting agreements, in the sense of, where do you want to be placed? Here's our retail location. Where do you want to be placed in our retail locations? That is a question you can ask every single one of the operators in the state of Illinois. And when we're doing our design with the architect, because there's two things that I want to design for: security compliance, and then also efficiency. And so, like, I want to be able to turn and burn, or like, because we have a no loitering policy. You're not allowed to do anything. You have to get in, you have to get out. That's the law. There's no loitering, get in, get out. I'm not kidding. Like, that's if you read the law and you read the zoning ordinance, they're very clear on. Yeah.
That's a lot better for the retail person, right? So for the person, because we're
then slotting agreement. That's more important than the slotting agreement, because now when you come in, you experience buying weed at our shop, who do you see first?
Well,
Who are they going to be thinking of when they see first? That's the slotting agreement. And so, like, I've talked to some, of the owners, just one. Like, what about shelf space agreements? I think we don't call it a shelf space agreement when we're making. Shut up. Hey, if you have a dispensary and you're watching this for ideas, pay me. But, and again, this is going to be structured once we get the floor.
just because, I mean, we haven't like broke a pebble yet, right? We're
no, we've broken much more than pebbles. Like,
okay, see what's we're more than a dream, but we're like still on.
We have a license. Like, we're on step 27 at 312 to get open now.
But as someone who smoked, as you know, right? Like, because you've been growing your own weed, you've been a patient for years in Illinois,
Since 2017.
self-sustained, man. Like, you haven't been store-bought weed. Like, I've been a consumer this whole time. Like I grew a couple times.
Store-bought weed's like weed in Illinois. I think it's cheaper now than weed in Missouri. The problem really is our taxes. Our taxes are just a little out of whack. But if we can control for that, or if we had more supply, then the price point, even with the tax that's on it, would come down. And so, like, there's 18 out of 87 craft growers operation. If that was 80 out of 87, where do you think the price point would be?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, who has to? Luckily, we're going to be in the store side of things, and that's the thing about, like, with the relationships I want to develop with the growers as a store owner. Like, as someone who, because when I used to buy weed and sell weed, I'm pretty sure I'll get them buy it at a certain, like, on the fields, right? Like you had to sell someone as your friend, like when they come, they got to sit in the couch for fucking half an hour. We're gonna watch this documentary and talk about now I'll sell you the fucking pen. Nah, I like the in and out. Like, it's a store. This is like safe for the person selling it, but also when we buy it at a certain price, that's the price everyone's gonna get it, right? Feels there's point pricing, and that's the non-sexy side of this fucking thing, right? Like, when there was culture, and there is going to be culture again, I think it's still going to be state by state. I'm pretty sure stuff's going on in Illinois. Cole is doing amazing stuff out there. Chad over in New Mexico, right? Every state has their thing. Washington used to have some really good stuff. Now it's gotten to this mature. It's a kid's game now, right? Whatever people want to do, everybody's more focused about there's no more events. There hasn't been a weed event out here for years. And that was about, like, that was the culture. That was, you go hang out, everybody's breaking the law, but now there's this thing where it's just mundane. Wine moms are now weed moms. You're From the lawyers that the wealthy Tesla drivers to the person driving a shitty fucking Chevy, they're all smoking the same weed. You know, like now, fortunately, the Tesla guy can buy some better weed, better price, but he's also buying shitty weed because we have a good variety of quality and whatnot out here.
You
So,
do. You go like you have a lot of SKUs. That your average
Mhm.
Washington dispensary has probably 3 to 5 times the SKUs of your average Illinois dispensary.
Yeah.
I shit you not. But like, do I have the data right now in my possession? No. Uh, Again, so it's going to be interesting. We'll have fewer SKUs, but we'll have to think of it. It's expensive to operate. If it's expensive to operate, you have to make it less expensive to operate. That's just the rules. And so and then it's so limited. You have slotting agreements with these operators, and you sell 5 slotting agreements from anywhere from $60,000 to $250,000 a pop. You're operational, and you have enough cash to even build out and market a little bit with your website and then staff. It's like, do you have any idea how much it sucks to staff and not be able to do business?
Yeah. Well, you're going to be like what is it in business? You're red for a while before you're black, whatever.
No, it's worse than that. Like, you have payroll,
Yeah.
that you must make, but you're not open for business because the regulators haven't said go. But you have to have everybody ready to go. The regulators can't say go. And so like you could be staffed and bounced, where like you're ready to go. The regulators find something wrong. We'll be back in 3 weeks. You got to make payroll.
Yeah. Yeah. People got to live, right? Like, I mean, people need to survive. So
That sucks. All right. Oh, no. Let's talk about the growers and the producers. You got to make payroll for months.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you've gotten the ability to operate, and they close their eyes and magically clones appear.
Yeah.
If you have magically clone appearing, you're not ready to go for a while.
That's true.
And then it's like 30 days net. It's like we buy the product, just put it on our shelves. We'll pay that invoice in 30 days. And then we go sell the product out of our shelves, pay the invoice.
That is so not sexy, dude. Like, I didn't.
That's welcome to the industry. And I have $500,000.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, growing, you got to be paying people out for 3 months, at least minimum. If everything was perfect for one cycle of, before harvesting and everything. So that's the unsexy shit. That's the side of the business side. Like, when there was culture, like, even the whole for the patients, yes, because it is medicine. And matter of fact, our next story is about the medicine. But like, there's a point to this plant where we can't get this, like broccoli, right? What do you pay per pound on broccoli?
Oh, it depends. Do I get the nice organic broccoli or not? Isn't the next story? Let's go over our main story. We can just recite it one more time. Federal agency examines core questions. Well, this isn't our main story. This is another one. This is a good one. Core questions about medical marijuana for cancer, including opioid alternative to treat pain. Another federal news. This is a JNCI, and JNCI stands for the Journal of the National Cancer Institute. So they did a medical marijuana study.
Yeah. 32.9% of patients reported using cannabis reported that they use marijuana primarily to treat cancer and treatments related. That's a good percentage of people.
But listen to this. It was 31.5% in medical only states, whereas it was 24.7% in states where it was legal. So that ban that you have, Iowa or Indiana, looking at you, Idaho, I think that's the end of the crazy eye list. You are not fixing anything. Nebraska, not fixing anything. 1 in 4 of the patients are still getting their medicine, as opposed to 1 in 3 of the patients.
Well, quote from the lead author of the research, University of Buffalo psychology professor Rebecca Ashar, said in a university press release that the guidelines surrounding cannabis use for patients with cancer have not caught up with what patients are actually doing. So it's the whole healthcare issue, right? This should be an option to use this plan. I mean, shit, if you're that level of sick, part of it's a stigma. Part of it, like, I might die of cancer. Yeah. I knew a guy who had a brain tumor. I was like, "Hey, I'll get you some RSO," but everybody's like, "No,
Yeah.
take this pill."
Right.
Well,
I'll get you some RSO and some vegetables. And then you should go have a walk. And they're like, I got a McRib, this diet soda. And, don't tell my doctor we're going to have gumbo cigarettes.
come
Uh,
on, man. And I mean, that's a harsh truth. We are our worst enemies when it comes to our health sometimes.
we are our worst enemies. Like
Yeah.
we have seen the enemy and it is us, right? It's not a clever statement that I made up. That one's very old. Hey, what else is cool? And that alcohol study about driving, alcohol and cannabis, the contrasting effect of the alcohol and cannabis on driving and speed control. So this is out of Iowa City, Iowa. And I'll give a shout out to, her name is Reiko. She was one of the artists that actually recognized me this week at our Peoria Art Fair from Grinnell, Iowa, of Bunnies, which was nice. I spoke to her, and then also shout out to Melvin, who's from Wisconsin. Both of them illegal states. They felt terrible. I told them which dispensary to go to, and they felt much better. But this is an interesting study. Traffic injury prevention. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the original Cheech and Chong movie from 1978, where they thought they were stopped, man. That was interesting in the sense that the cannabis, as opposed to the placebo or the alcohol use, because they split them into those three groups: placebo, cannabis, alcohol. I'm sure the one on the placebo knew they weren't too buzzed. So they were going to kind of leave. But then the ones under cannabis, they spent speeds significantly below the speed limit more often. And in contrast, those under the influence of alcohol spent close to 40% of the time, more than 10% above the speed limit. If you're at 50, you're going 55. Interesting, because that's what happened in the Cheech and Chong movie 50 years ago. They were stopped, man. And then it's more compensatory behaviors noted for the cannabis users. So if you use cannabis and are driving, you may be going too slowly and kind of freaked out about it. So you're compensating a lot by looking around and stuff. However, if you're drunk, not only are you driving more than 10% above the speed limit, you're also driving more recklessly. Yeah.
It's a thing. It comes out of Iowa. You would think for sure they're looking for the wrongs. I mean, I don't trust.
They're looking for the wrongs. And what they found instead was so basically, if we want the speed limit signs to matter, and we also want people to be trying to follow the rules of the road, or at least compensating to be trying to follow the rules of the road, we should allow them to get high, but not drunk. Yeah. Of course, that's not the full thing. The placebo effect did the best. Those that were on cannabis and alcohol showed impairment. However, there was a difference in the behavior and the results of that impairment.
It's still called shenanigans and that, but I mean, maybe some people are just shitty drivers.
Some people are shitty drivers, but I think what I'm calling it is cannabis is not alcohol.
Oh, no. Oh,
right.
I don't think you need studies anymore. We don't need any more studies to prove that.
But I don't understand why we don't need any more studies to prove it. If you've never been able to study it objectively, we've still only been able to try to find the harm. You're not going to get the money unless you try to find the harm. And this is if OJ, who's dead, by the way, actually did try to find the real killer. That's what the state of cannabis science is. It has been over 50 years of, can it do this? No. Can it do this? No. Can it do this? No. Why is it illegal? Can it do this? No. Can we make it into a synthetic version of it by saying it's not it and sell it nationwide? Yes. God, why is this so hard? How are we this stupid, or do we just not care? And the more that I get into this industry, and I've been in it for so long, and I'm come on, I'm going to diversify out of this industry. Why we're not taking clients in 20 in this month. But it also has to do with, if people cared, it wouldn't be like that. But then Look at our healthcare system. Look at our taxes.
Yeah.
Look at anything. What's really working?
Well, fuck, dude, we just have years of people who've been in charge, like looking out for themselves, right? Like our tax code's the biggest tax code in the world. And even now, right, with this new, like the next report with uh, going back, it covers that study we talked about earlier. That's with the scientific report. But U.S. health authorities, need to play a larger role in the cannabis policy. New report that. So they're just begging for more help, right? What was the report?
This one's out of ABC News. So this
Sure.
report got picked up by NPR, ABC. It's why it's our main story. This had gone around as best it can. And like we saw it, but I don't think anybody cares. I think when the general person hears weed, they just kind of roll their eyes.
Yeah.
And now if they hear like chemical weed, they might be like, all right, let's not do that. But that's kind of what this report said. And this was what the ABC News reported on it. They had a couple of things. All right. This one was interesting. More daily active users of marijuana than alcohol in the United States for the first time ever. So more than 18 million Americans use cannabis daily, more than the number who drink alcohol. And so less than 18 million Americans drink alcohol on a daily basis, which is about 5% of the population if you're counting. Cannabis is getting stronger. They also found, saying that it's gone from 25 years ago being 5% to over 20% now. I call bullshit on that for one reason. 20 years ago, if you took the cannabis that was seized and you put it into a blender and then you tested it, you would have been blending up seeds and stems and other bullshit. If you would do the same thing now, you would be blending up high quality, legally grown cannabis water. So it's just back to baseline is what I would say with that. It's not stronger than it was. It's more pure, but then you have to look at the relative risk of the substance itself. So when you see headlines like that, you can see the editorial bias behind the plant, where they're trying to say that it's stronger and you should be worried about risks more than it is. And so that's what they say. Public health, quotes, took a back seat as states passed laws. Financial interests played a substantial role in influencing those policies. No shit, because it's really expensive to get in the industry. So you need to have cash flows to stay in the industry.
Yeah. Well, like you said, NPR covers as well. It's like the CDC angle. Kind of think it's overreaching, but like from the NPR side of things, where we talk about 5 things from that report, it's very simplified where it comes down to like, it says more people consume cannabis regularly than alcohol in the U.S. Weed vapes can be super potent, but not always disclosed. It's a concentrate, right? Isn't this kind of like a common sense? Some of the shit report is like, if you're not a consumer, you just don't know these things. Like if you're a consumer in a fair market, you'll have the knowledge base and understanding. And that's why homegrown would be important too, because then you can understand the fucking plant, like, or at least like what good weed is, I guess.
Yeah. They also do delivery. Well, that's what you need. You need sense, and it's just all nonsense. And then we've been doing this podcast for 5 years, and all I feel like is Captain Cuckoo Bananas is winning. And just nothing's making. And the further you get in, the more you're like, are we making progress? I don't even know what the fuck we're talking about anymore sometimes. And so it is interesting in that respect. It's like, what do you want? Legal weed. How do we get it? We create synthetic versions of it that are called hemp, and then we make it a federal law, and then we infiltrate the entire country. And do we change the legal aspect of it? No, people will still be in prison. They will do it on a state by state basis. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Speaking that you say that, like that's the thing, right? This study, most people like rolling their eyes, probably just thinking nothing of it, even though this has a lot of good points for what regulation could look like with rescheduling it, how rescheduling could be shape the hemp cannabis industry champ one day. And as you said, we've been talking about, but there is progress with the rescheduling because that's where you get the ball rolling. Like you said, Congress is not going to get their shit together. Luckily, we've had like this administration that did make that freaking directive, But also they've done like the CHIPS Act, the infrastructure bill, right? There's ways to get around doing things, but legalization is not going to be one. I swear, we all want deschedulization. We all want free seeds or whatever. Like that's what I said. I'm like, this CRSA, I could get behind if you define cannabis to include marijuana. Are you kidding me? You're going to define cannabis to just not include marijuana and say that this is good for the good of the movement? Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, they talk about lies from the hemp industry clamoring for regulation. They're clamoring for the entire plant to not be the plant. What the fuck? And then here's another point to like why we can't be in for like regulation of like a path for people. So, we have the strangest of inboxes, right? We're sub to different things. Today, or actually 2 days ago, the DEA issued this marijuana trafficker sentence to prison. So somebody recently got arrested, right? But my point here is going to be, he got 13 months. So unfortunately, our president, way how we see this law does affect justice. We're like, well, okay, we'll just impersonate him for a year. It's not 27 years like Edwin Rubis. It's not the 30 some odd years that it's not the 15, 16. It's not the 10 that Lance, it's 13, which is like, yay, but it still shouldn't be even happening. Like there should be a path where if he was a part of a network, because now they talk about money laundering. He didn't have a fucking chance. There was no plan for banking. Like you could throw into fucking irregulars. If you have a prosperous business, like you understand how things should work, bottom line with like what it takes to grow, and then you get your profits, and then you have respectable people that just come to your house, buy 10 pounds and go away because they're going to get rid of it however they want.
Well,
right?
10 pounds. Like, are you retailing wholesale in that respect? But hey, why don't you introduce the check story? I'm going to go see if I can get a different filter than this green one. And so like drop me off at the international bumper.
Do it.
This is a fun speed run. All right. Czech Republic government proposes to ease cannabis rules. So another country ahead of America. The Czech Justice Ministry proposed on Monday to legalize the growing of up to 3 cannabis plants and possession of up to 50 grams of dried hemp at home. What's an ounce's, how much?
28 grams.
28 grams. That's 2 ounces and, no, it's under 2 ounces. That's a weird number. Outside the home, it'll be legal to hold 25 grams outside your home. Hell yeah. That's a good, you can carry those outside. That's a good festival that you're camping. The legislation only concerns growing and possession for one's needs by older people older than 21. That is amazing. This will take effect. The amendment has to be approved by the government and parliament and signed by the law and president. I think it's just great that the ministry proposed it. They said the bill was motivated by a change in the perception of the recreational use of marijuana by adults, possession of 4 or 5 plants, or 51. The Czech Republic is going to be a tourist haven, I think, for Europe. I mean, if like no one's dying or in war at that time, but they're fine relative to what's going on in Europe. Yeah. They do realize that Ukraine has legalized medical weed, but would you go to Ukraine? Not right now, But I mean, my geographical ignorance, though, I just, I would love to visit a country where there's like, because I bet you that's going to be an open door for culture and growers to just have the best fucking weed. Because that's what it takes to have good weed is a community of people with knowledge bases and whatnot. And then legality. And so you need the community of the people that like the plant with the enthusiasm, the knowledge base. But then you also need to not get in their way and let them do their thing. And so that's where things get a little hairy sometimes. Right? Illinois is not perfect at that. Washington State's not perfect at that.
No.
But they do a lot better than they could. We need federal policy. Federal policy of Schedule 3 is the way, because now we have legal medical natural weed nationwide. Then you can build the CSRA and then just make the C be cannabis. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. And then you can build the C be legalized. and define it to also include marijuana.
Well, yeah, people are still getting arrested for his plant, right? There's still bad laws, bad enforcement of a bad law being placed. These guys go out, like I am not an ACAB person. So sometimes, that's just how it feels because these people have power over other people's lives. And the way we get change is by restructuring this law. All right. Look, we take away the power from them and give it to us. That's what we've been doing for goddamn 6 years, 5 years on here, 10 years on the Facebook as friends. Tom and I have been at this game for a while. But the thing is, it turns into a business, right? Oh, I don't know if you guys saw this, but RJ Reynolds is hiring for they're getting involved. Big Cigarette's already getting involved, right? I know a showing title said something about this but this shit's all inevitable. Where big money, there's gonna be a Walmart weed. And so it's up to the consumer to know where their Trader Joe's is. And that's where I think with our store, dude, we're going to be leaders in just quality of what you're smoking, right? We're farm to table. It's kind of what cannabis is. It's what the market is right now. It's the only thing that's all American, individual states, right?
Yeah.
Like the only thing un-American, it would be like the packaging.
Well, but it's compliant with the regulations. That's one of the things. Hey, you know who's not compliant with the regulations? We do ask some stock news. And this is just fraud. Sometimes you just lie to people to make money. And I don't recommend it. If you're going to make an offer, do the work. And then if the client says that they don't want to pay because they didn't want the work anymore, it's like, look, you ordered the steak. I made the steak. You ate the steak. You got to pay for the steak. This is not what happened. Here, it was the SEC finding people. And by people, I mean Weedmaps Technology, traded on NASDAQ as $175,000 to settle allegations the company used misleading numbers. They were including pop-up ads and other non-engaged users as data for their monthly active users to give to investors to sell the sizzle of that steak that they had more commerce and business and eyeballs on it than was actually there. So they could set a higher price for their advertisements and other things. That was wrong. It was misleading, and the SEC did not like it. Well, and the people, so like, even though it's Weedmaps, a company, this is the sexy part of the cannabis business that, like, I never realized, like, you're going to have a board. You're going to have freaking HR and all that stuff. Well, I'm not predicting us have a board until the note matures, and then we would sell 100% of the equity into the C corporation, which would then like revalue our holdings. But
Right.
those is in the future.
Yeah, there's like paperwork involved, but here Weedmaps, like when Weedmaps started, because a website or whatever, a business is a culture, right? And then I don't believe the guys who started it are still behind it no more. Because I remember, when the other websites stuff, right? They were just another website back in the day. But the former chief executive officer and the financial chief officer are the ones that are being fined here, right? Of the technology company, right? They're the ones that were, but are just guys that were like did shitty business. Like it wasn't like a cannabis person. It was a shitty CTO and a shitty CEO. Like not the actual company. It's not. It's an entity now, right? It's no longer it's a douchebag. Like, do you have any idea how many douchebags are in business? Like you go to business things, you'll meet douchebags left and right. And they will love juice numbers and other chicanery that allows them to get what they want in the short term. And that's what they were doing. And they got fined for it, That's it. That's it. But I was trying to like, that's where cannabis is not, the culture is very mature now, right? Where you have these like in play CTOs, hell, even High Times when they're like, the hippie culture was their main, the underground culture. I was shocked to see like, after the founder committed suicide, that it was taken over by the lawyer. And then there was this whole like infrastructure of the board, meeting shares and all that stuff. But we're not there yet. But I guess the one before we take off, dude, I have a little. I want you to see this little meme I made here. I want to do a little segment.
Okay.
Oh, you got something?
Uh, I was going to pull up the financial chart for
Oh,
Weed
of course.
Maps
Yeah.
because they said what it was doing for its net revenue for the year. And I'm like, okay, that's its net revenue for the year. I wonder what its market cap. And so I'm trying to find the market cap for Weed Maps.
That's the stock price.
It would be the stock price times the number of outstanding shares. And so this is really kind of shit in the sense that those who let, they shouldn't be giving me oh, there it is. The market cap is $150.1 million, meaning Reed Caps is a very small company.
Okay.
And it has free cash flows. And by free cash flows, that very often is net revenue or net income of $3.2 million for the first 6 months of 2024, which means that they'll probably do about $6 million of net revenue, meaning profit, like you paid for all your shit and you have $6 million. That $6 million of free cash flow, according to the stock market, is worth $150 million.
How much is the shares though? That's available.
Like, no, per share from the share volume was 487,000. I don't know what the float is. You would have to take the share price, 90 cents, and you would have to multiply that out or divide it out from 150 million, do that what the float of the shares is. And then the C Corps buy, and they call it treasury stock. And they're like, we can do all of this. Oh shit. We've gone way too long. That's our show, everybody. It's 20 past the hour in another time zone. Miggy and I are talking about how finance works. And if you want to learn how finance works, you can find me over at CannabisIndustryWarrior.com or collateralbase.com. No, I'm not allowed to buy ads on the internet for some reason.
So you heard it here first. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us this episode. We'll be back next week with more cannabis legalization news. Come see me in Chicago at Benzinga on October 8th. I may still have some time. I have several things lined up, but I may still have some time for you, good person. We will see you next week. Thank you to our members. You will be in the.
Yes. Thanks for